First assignment for our first module, the emotional journey. I'm going to run through the task and I'm just going to illustrate a couple of points along the way. So you're going to pick an app that you want to map your user journey for, and you're going to map the experience, the emotions that go along with that user journey. So in order to do that, first you want to pick your app, and it might be useful to think about the final project. So I've also posted the final project up, so read through that. The app that you want to make up, you might want to choose an app that's in the same category as yours, so you can see what a competitor does well and what's maybe missing, what you might want to focus on when making up your app. So the first thing you want to do once you've picked your app is to actually go through and use it. And while you're using it, note down every step, every click, every interaction you have to have with that app in order to navigate it. So I've listed on the next page and in the next video kind of how you approach thinking about noting down each stage, each kind of interaction. But just make a note of every single kind of tap, swipe, click, type that you have to do. Those are going to be called states for the purposes of this assignment. So think about the task you're executing at that stage and how you feel. That's kind of the main takeaway for this. So does each interaction with the app add to that emotional state? Does it change your emotional state? Are you happy? Is it a pleasurable experience? Is it just functional? Is it not functional and you get frustrated? Do you go in feeling anxious, but in the end you feel relieved? Think about these things as you're going through. You need to list at least 5 states. That's the minimum. Now, the first state is going to be opening up the app. What drove you to open the app in the first place? Then you'll have the landing screen. What do you end up on? And from there, you'll need at least 2 other interactions or 2 other screens that you interact with in the app. And then when you exit, think about exiting the app and what that looks like. So that would be your minimum of 5 different states. So you're going to list these out first, and then once you have that list, then you're going to want to draw out a grid to map them on. So this kind of grid has an X and Y axes. The Y axis, the vertical axis, this is going to be for the emotions. Negative emotions are going to be towards the bottom, positive ones are going to be towards the top. And then your horizontal axis is going to be time. It's going to be your interactions from furthest to the left is going to be you deciding to open the app, and then, you're going to go towards the right because we read left to right. So starting at the left is you opening the app, and you're closing the app was going to be the thing that's furthest to the right. You can either have it be a kind of like a traditional grid where it makes a cross. That would be if there's both positive and negative emotions that you are going to encounter along the way. Or if everything's positive, then it's going to make kind of an L shape. It's just going to start at the bottom of your vertical axis. So I've included a couple images here as I've talked through it to hopefully make that a little bit clearer. But you're going to think about what you wrote down in step 2 about those different states, and you're going to plot each state on that grid. You can look at the images on page 73 and 77 of your book for inspiration onto how that might look. And once you've kind of plotted those points out, you want to think about how you're going to make those points look like a map that kind of tells the viewer, your other peers, you're posting these for everybody to look at, about that experience. So what were you feeling when you opened the app? What did you have to do next? From that point, what was the next thing you had to do in order to reach your goal? Was the experience functional? Was it nice? Was it pleasant? Kind of what was your journey going through the app? Do you think that it was a really calming experience, so you want to use curves to connect everything? If there were really high ups and downs, well then maybe sharp, jagged lines are really useful. Do you want to color things in to kind of indicate the intensity of feelings? Do you want to use icons along the way? You might have text telling us what you're doing, but maybe you want to have smiley faces at really big high points and low points so that you could get a really quick snapshot of the experience just by glancing at it, and then you can delve a little bit deeper. Now feel free to do this pen and paper to kind of draw it out, to color things in. You can use whatever you have to hand. You can color it in with like markers if you have them. If you don't worry about it. You can do things in black and white. Then you might want to rely more on like smiley faces or little icons. And again, looking at page 77, she kind of uses some imagery there. So think about creative ways that with whatever you have to hand, you can make a really interesting little graph. You can also, if you want to, you can use things like Photoshop or Illustrator if that's something that you're comfortable with, but don't feel like you have to. So once you're happy with what the image looks like, and remember that you want the image to communicate as like a piece of visual communication, then you can take a photograph if it's something that you physically drawn out, or make it a JPEG, and I want you to just post that on the discussion board for this module. Remember that the title of your post should be the name of the app. So in the example I'm going to walk through, that's Abyssrium. So that would be the title of my post, and then I would have my image next to it. So the next video is going to go over the different states and how you can look at that, but that's kind of the main homework assignment. And then you'll notice so that's due by Friday. And then for Wednesday, you've noticed I've posted a prompt underneath for what you should be replying to other people's posts, and that is the following Wednesday.